A church is more than a building. God uses them for innumerable things. He uses them to introduce himself to people, to help us find community and family, and to inspire us to go out and serve the world. On November 13th, 1923, God began using First Christian Church of Fort Myers to do just that, when 13 people responded to a newspaper advertisement to start this church. This is our story. This is our song.
I have been coming to First Christian Church for 78 years, and I'm proud of it.
Needless to say, I've been coming to First Christian Church 78 years because we're sisters and we rode in the same vehicle.
My mother and my grandmother, Jenny Perry, started attending in 1932. I was brought to this church when I was a baby in January of 1957.
It was a pretty neat thing. I was 11 years old at the time, but it was a neat thing because we knew it was home.
So I actually had to call my mom to see kind of how we ended up coming here when I was 3 years old, and so we had moved into a new neighborhood, and she had asked a neighbor, so it was First Christian Church.
And we've been coming to church here since 1992.
By 2003, 2004, my wife wanted to start to looking for another church, you know. She started visiting this church.
So that was late 2020.
Junior year of high school, I met FCC's youth pastor for the middle school and high school.
So our first day down here was June 10th, and we started attending shortly after we arrived, so over a year.
And we were the very first church in Lee County that had air conditioning. Saturday morning, the preacher would come over and start the ice making machine. It had a vent, so we had one classroom that had air conditioning, and then the auditorium had air conditioning.
We used to sit in this building, what I remember, right about where I'm sitting now. And one of the cool stories about that, my mom and my dad and all of the people from the church helped to put this building, which we now call the Family Center, they helped to build it with whatever they could do. The ladies of the church varnished all the woodwork up above in the ceiling, and my dad and Charlie Watson put the glass in all these green glass windows that you see here.
But the minister's house, it was two-story and it was right next door, and almost everybody knew that you could go on the porch and raise the window, and there was the key to the house. So if you needed to use the bathroom or something, you could.
I didn't know about the key.
Oh, well, I did.
Something that I noticed immediately when we first started coming here that was different than the previous church that we were at is that everyone is very welcoming, but they also remember you, or at least try to remember who you are and make a more personal connection with you. And I love that aspect of FCC.
Well, we're just one great big family, and growing up in a large family, I just always liked being around other people of like minds and just feeling belonging.
Definitely the community, and as I said, how much of a community this church is definitely unique to First Christian.
Everybody's very inviting, and the people were very engaging, and it really made us want to connect here.
Every time I walk in the door on Sundays, I really feel like I'm home. I look around and I always say this sometimes, I'm just like, oh, these are my people.
Everyone's always very welcoming. You should never be afraid to come in here, ever.
They really do make sure that you are seen and make sure that you're heard, and just like any way that they could show the love of Jesus, I think that's what FCC's main goal and purpose is.
It's like a family, not any family, because some family can be chaos, but not like any family. But
when I came here, I was came by myself. I went to Sunday school class, and then that class told you, people just embrace you.
The reason this place works like a family is because just like families, we know each other's stuff and we know that we're not perfect.
This church supported us as we took our family, loaded up, and moved to New Zealand. We were there for a few years, couple years, and then obviously when that was over with, we had opportunity to come back to the States, and
we felt like this was home. We didn't have any relatives here, but this church was our family.
And I would think for myself, moving down here, obviously I have my husband's family, but I didn't really have any friends before moving down here. And so, FCC has been a great place for me to create and cultivate those relationships that I knew I was gonna need moving down here.
And we lived 12 miles out, and we would pick up kids along the way. That was before car seats. And so when we would get here, sometimes there might be 10 or 12 people in our car. So they wouldn't start Sunday school till we got here because we were a big part of the Sunday school.
But I think it's every parent's goal for their kid to, in the very least, be in a God-led place and their children feel loved. And I see that a lot with the children here.
Yeah, the kids at First Christian Church went to Lake Aurora Christian Assembly Camp from each summer from here. That was many, many years ago. So Lake Aurora Christian Assembly has been around a long time. One year they had a contest that the group that performed the best at camp, that made up their bed, that attended all the sessions and behaved themselves, didn't get into any bad trouble, got a special award. So Mr. Dance told us that if we won that he would treat us all to a steak dinner. Well, we won. The group from Fort Myers won, but it wasn't a steak dinner, but it was wonderful. Mrs. Dance cooked everything. Fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, cinnamon rolls, apple pie. She had everything at that dinner for us because we had won that award.
I mean, for me, it's come full circle. So like where we're at now is where we would come to day camp. It's where my mom would be the volunteer. It's where we would decorate these rooms. And now it's me being here. It's my kids being the people that are in day camp, and Caden's already at the age to be able to volunteer. And so I know things that I looked forward to as a kid. That's what encourages me to now volunteer as an adult, because if I'm still remembering that, then I would think that they're gonna remember that, in 20 years too.
When raising our kids here is we were surrounded by like-minded adults who loved our kids and cared for our kids just like we did. We knew when they went to their house that they were gonna hear the same encouragement and the same love of God from them.
I love the way our church values children and youth. The people, I hope I can do this without crying, that invested in me, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe when we moved here that they put on a VBS, and Dick and Hilda Vestley were a part of the VBS, so they invited me to come, and here I go. And just so happy to be a part of that. And I remember as an 11-year-old looking around me and seeing all that had been done, from the lessons to the crafts to the snacks. As an 11-year-old, I saw this, and I was just so grateful that people would invest in all these little squirt kids that are running around and being crazy and enjoying themselves, but all the time and the money that went into that so that we could know Jesus.
You really are, especially if you're on the leadership team, but just in general, if you're just a student that goes there, you really are pushed and challenged and encouraged to go out and be the light of the world.
I think one of the main ministries they have for the homeless ministry, especially after the hurricane, how they go, even these people who victim from that hurricane.
So we sent our daughter to Africa, and this church supported her and loved her, and it was just an amazing experience for all of us, and just to see support surrounding her.
It's a missions church. I spoke of the youth, and a big thing of what happened in our kids' lives, and I've seen in other children's lives as well, is the mission projects. Wow, that's life-changing. And I know Sarah Kate Couch has gone into missions because of that, and their family was in missions going to New Zealand.
In the 1960s, my mom and Ken Bullard, who people in this church would know, went on a mission trip with the high school kids to Jamaica, which was very probably the first offshore missions trip we ever had from the church.
The best of it is the trip to Holy Land, which just passed a couple months ago, almost 2 months ago. That's, for me, that's the best highlight since I've been here for me.
I think FCC, and I don't know how long this has been, but I've seen in the past that it's a place where people come to heal. A lot of people have come here to heal from whatever's happened in their lives. And, God just equips the people here in our congregation to love on them and care for them and help them through just the rough times.
Yeah, I don't think I would be the person that I am today if I hadn't grown up here in this church with the parents that I had.
The difference that it's made in my life is keeping me more focused outside of myself, and rather than my own selfish view of how society is changing or the way society should be, but thinking more in terms of how does God want it to be.
Like this church has completely changed. Like my faith journey started when I came here. I mean, she can kind of attest to that. Like I went to church, but now like I'm in the church. So honestly, I don't know where I'd be without First Christian Church.
Yeah, purpose, fulfillment, those things. Not only for us individually, but for our family, absolutely.
My one wish for the future is that First Christian Church continues to embrace all of the families from the babies up to the grandparents.
And this is great because we've got the little babies and we've got the Club 90 where they honor people that have been at least 90 years old, and they treat them like they're special.
Everything they do, I just hope they continue for another 100 years. I'm sure that's what has brought them through the first 100 years, and we hope that for the next 100 years.
Yeah. Not just the younger people, but even the older people. See what he's going to do, how he's going to respond and send people out to do his work.
Just keeping that same willingness to serve wherever FCC can, and just doing it in a way that, like I said before, meets people where they are.
So when I think about if Jesus doesn't return before everyone sitting at First Christian Church today goes home to be with the Lord, then I hope that this place will be filled with several generations of people who are still proclaiming the truth of Christ.
Your relationship with Christ is important for your life, the lives of the people that are around you, and the lives that are yet to come.
These are just a few of the stories God has written at First Christian Church these past 100 years. Lives have been changed. And our hope is that God continues to use us to change lives in the future. Let us remember the words of the prophet Jeremiah. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. God is not finished with our story, and we praise Him for what He's done and for what's to come. In the meantime, let us be quick to share God's faithfulness with those in our path, because this is our story. this is our song.